So I didn't take a video before when I was cutting it up, but I had 3 of these pork tenderloins that I cut into steaks here. So technically you could call them boneless chops or something like that. I trimmed most of the fat off. There's like a slight fat cap on there, but the gist of it is, this is like 30-ish pounds of meat that's pretty decently lean, that I paid at Costco after tax like maybe $80, not even. That's pretty good. It was 3 whole tenderloins that turned into this. And each one of these pieces is about 8 ounces on average. A couple of them were 7, a couple of them were 9. I think one was 10. It's not going to be perfect, but the average though is 8 ounces. So I'm going to grill them up and then vacuum seal them and freeze them. And this will be kind of like each one of these is going to be the protein portion for a meal. So you figure, and I already have a bunch more of this in the freezer that I'd already prepped that way anyway. But I had some time, so I figure I'd just kind of demonstrate what this is about. But the gist of it is that we're trying to replace other options for protein because it's a pretty cost-effective way to do it. I mean, this is like $2.50 a pound, which is even cheaper than chicken, and it's pretty high quality. It wasn't previously frozen. There's no solutions that it's soaked in like a lot of other poultry is, and it doesn't, more importantly, it doesn't bug my stomach or disrupt digestion like a lot of poultry does for me. So it might be something worth considering for yourself if you're on a budget, or if digestion is a concern, quality is a concern, things like that. It's a pretty good way to check all the boxes. It's pretty economical. It's pretty easy to prep too. Like all you do is, you lay out the tenderloin on a cutting board, and then you just kind of slice it down and lay them out. And this is pretty much what you're left with. And the end result's really good, especially if you smoke it or grill it. It tastes pretty similar to what you'd find in a restaurant. So I'll take a video of the ones as they're cooking on the grill, and then the end result, and eventually the vacuum sealing. I'll kind of cut it all together and you can see what the end result's going to be. Also, I trimmed the fat off, and I'm vacuum sealing it right now to throw it away, just because with a lot of like meat trim and waste and things like that, if you toss it and you don't at least put it in a Ziploc bag, but I prefer to do this just because it doesn't leak as much as if I were to put it in a regular Ziploc bag. Then you can avoid bugs and weird stuff like that, so it's just kind of an extra step. But that's all the fat that I trimmed off, which really wasn't that much. If we time this right, yeah, it should show you here in a second. One sec. It's gonna release. And here's what we're left with. So like if that's the board and that's my hand, you can see it's not hardly any fat, relative to the amount of meat that 30 pounds of meat, not even, I guess I can show you. Hold on. So if we're curious how much weight, because the bag is like not even an ounce, right? Not even a pound of fat for all 30 pounds of meat. That's pretty good, man. In terms of what was left on there, not that much, but anyway, just something to consider when it comes to the waste product. Okay, got them all in here. Well, most of them, probably like 2/3. And I have a probe in. The temperature set for, with pork, I like to do like 150. That's well done for pork, so I don't want to overcook it or anything. And then 350 is a pretty moderate temperature too. I noticed that if I go much higher, it's more prone to burning on the outside. So, and here are the 90-10 burgers that came out. They're all 8 ounces. This is the just any 90-10 will do. I get mine in bulk from Restaurant Depot, and that'll be another video. Some of these on this side anyway look a little burned, but there's hot spots on the grill. It is what it is, but they all come out pretty good. I'm about to have one right now, and this is how they come out. So you can see, any of these, like, if you were to go to a restaurant, man, and get like a plate with 2 of these or something, you're paying like $40. And what I'm saying is like all of this plus I just put down the last few pieces on the grill, probably like imagine like another tray like this size. So like this plus 2 of these was like not even $80 for all that. That's pretty legit. And it tastes way better than chicken, in my opinion. And the quality is significantly higher and it's cheaper. So again, if you're gonna do white meat at all, I really think this is a better option. Superior to chicken. It tastes better, easier to prep, cheaper, all that. It's just more efficient in every way. And I've eaten a lot of chicken, far superior. Digestion is way better too. If you ever have like digestive issues when you're eating a lot of poultry and things like that, chicken, turkey, etc., try switching over to the pork loin. I really think it's a superior alternative. All right, so for the kind of vacuum sealer that I use, there are these kind of cut bags. So what I'm gonna do is invert it and straighten it out. And I like to kind of pre-do that. And you want to make a little bit of a lip. Now the goal of this, like making it kind of fold over like that, is to make sure that this is clean and clear of any grease or anything, because when we fold it back and put it together in the machine to seal it, if there's any grease here, it's gonna keep the seal from really adhering together properly. So it's important that we keep the outside clean. So what I usually do is I'll kind of like invert all these together, like just prepping them to be filled with everything. And I know that, so this end result here is coming from 3 5-pound tubes of beef. So it's like 15 pounds yielding about, if they're 8 ounces each, that's 30 burgers, right? Well, because it's already cooked, I'm gonna have, and I just ate one of them, so that's 5 more that I need, that I'm gonna eat over today and then the next 2 days. So that, the remaining 5 that I'm gonna have over the next today and consecutive 2 days, so 3 days total. I'm gonna keep that in a Pyrex, and then all the rest of it I'm gonna vacuum seal. So that leaves like 24 burgers that I'm gonna evenly distribute between these. So you figure, let's see, so 6 per bag, that's 24. And so now that they're all kind of like this, I usually put them off to the side like this, just so that they're kind of consolidated. And I'll get like some tongs, and then these to keep them off the counter, and I'll just bag them up. So you'll see like one just on top of each other. It should fit pretty much perfectly. Yep, so kind of like that. And so we just have to do that a couple more times. Yeah, prepping meat ahead of time like this is definitely the move. Like I was saying earlier, because it's really the only thing that's the bottleneck in terms of time and priority and all that. If you can get it out of the way like this in bulk, it's just gonna make life so much easier, especially if you have to like, grab and go. Because if you figure like, let's say you slept in or something, you're running behind, and you have to go to work or have to be somewhere or whatever, it's a lot easier. Or let's even say it's at the end of the day, like the end of the day, because I usually like to prep my food for the day before. That way it's fresh, and when I wake up, I just don't have to think it's like my food for the day's ready to go, So what I like to do is like say if I'm just coming home from work right now or something, or wherever I'm at, and I need to prep my food for tomorrow, what I would usually do is put on the Instant Pot, and I have a video on that, like how I do my rice or whatever. And I would put on the Instant Pot with the rice and vegetables and everything. And then I would just grab, like I was saying earlier, like, this is a bag of the 90-10. They'll look like this. So I'll grab one of these. I'll grab one with the pork and then one with the sirloin. I'll put them all together in like a bigger one of these. These are called Cambros. So I'll put them in a bigger one of those in the sink with the running water over it, cold water, to let it thaw real quick. And that'll thaw while the Instant Pot is running. And that way, by the time the Instant Pot is done with my rice, meat's thawed, perfect. So then you just put these on top of each other, cut them open, throw them in a Pyrex, and now I have meat for the next 3 days, like ready to go. So that makes it a lot easier. And then that way, the next 2 days, all I would have to do then is when I come home from work again, throw on the Instant Pot, do whatever you have to do, laundry, dishes, whatever. And then when it's done, just open it up, portion out the rice. The meat's already cooked in the Pyrex, so I just like pull it out, throw it in, cap it off, throw it in the fridge, and it's done. So you can prep a whole day's worth of food, like 6 meals plus, in like under 30 minutes. That's pretty good. Especially if you're talking about like, minimal mess, because in that context, you would only have to clean the pot from the Instant Pot, and not much else. And that takes like a minute, not even. So it's really a good idea to, if you have like, a day or even just a few hours, because I think the last big cook I did like this, like exactly like this with the pork and the beef and all that, but I did like probably double the volume. It was like, man, it was like 100 pounds of meat or something. I think I clocked it because whenever I do big stuff like that, I like to run a stopwatch just to like know how long it would take to do something like that. I think it took like, man, it must have been like 4 or 5 hours, something like that. But you figure you're not going to do like 100 pounds of meat all the time. So you figure if something happens, something opens up, you get a couple hours here and there, you can kind of ballpark and be like, okay, have a couple hours, throw on if you're into sports, throw on a game, or I like to listen to podcasts while I cook or whatever. So I'll put on a podcast, just have a headphone in and kind of do my thing and chill. And then by the time I'm done, it's like, I won't have to cook, like, because you figure each of these is 3 days, right? So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 days, something like that. I won't have to, I might have to get another bag. I won't have to cook, man, for like, because this is just one batch, and I did this because I had extra time, like I was saying. I did this not too long ago, like two weeks ago. I did that 100-pound thing, so I probably won't have to cook if I don't want to for like, man, like a month or two at least. And I'll show you the freezer later once I vacuum seal all this stuff, but it's good. Probably at least a good like 2 months plus I won't have to cook if I don't want to, which is kind of cool for your subconscious and all that and stress, because then you can just be like, oh, even if I sleep in or something happens or an emergency or whatever, I at least have everything ready to go. All I have to do is thaw it and I'm good, and I don't have to worry about it for 2 months. That's pretty cool. So if you have the, if you consider the amount of time that you're saving from all that and the headache and the stress, if you're able to, I really would think about investing in a good vacuum sealer. And we can talk about the kind that I use and what I like, because I've had a couple different ones. But like stuff like that, and getting a good grill is a really big move for me, because I put it off for a really long time. But especially to get like a good quality one that's reliable, that has the surface area where you can get away with bulk like this. And even if you don't, I have a really good budget option I can talk to you about that I still keep over there. It was like 1/10 of the cost of this big one. So there really are options for everybody. But investing in tools like that though, to help alleviate the stress and headache of all this and really streamline it, I think are worth it. So and we can talk about some of those details here in a bit, but anyway, this is just to show you kind of like one step in the process. But yeah, I'm gonna get these bagged up and then throw them in the vacuum sealer. I'll show you that, and then I'll do the same with the pork, and then I'll show you the freezer, and then maybe we'll talk about grills a little bit later. Okay, pork's all done. That's a lot. And again, $80 for like all that. It's pretty good. I mean, we got, you know, what is this? 4, 12, 15, 16, 30, like 44 pieces, 45 almost. That's pretty good, man, for all that. I mean, that looks pretty good. That looks better than chicken to me. Something that I was thinking about too, if you consider this, you know, this being a pork tenderloin, if you imagine like, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, you know, if you're a butcher or something, but you know, with beef tenderloin, when you cut that in a similar fashion to get steaks like this, you know, a tenderloin cut like this would yield, you know, this would be a filet mignon if it were beef. So I was just thinking, you know, would this not be then the pork version of a filet mignon? I mean, it looks pretty good and it tastes fantastic. Yeah, it's and cheaper too than chicken. I think it's a really a better option. But yeah, okay, so this is all cooked, ready to go. Just have to wait for it to finish cooling off. These pieces have been here for a minute, so. Okay, yeah, like I was saying earlier, like, you know, 90-ish is right about the cutoff where I think they're ready to go. So I'm gonna finish with the beef over there, take a video of that, and I'll show you the same process, but with these. And then these just came off the grill, so they have to cool down. 150 right now, coming down to 90. And then I'll get those bagged up and sealed and ready to go. Right. I put this hot pad on top of here so that when it comes up automatically, it doesn't bump into the cabinet. That's what that is. Okay, so this is the end result of after putting it in the bag. You just, you know, flip it back over, making sure not to let any grease get in on here. And then you just kind of push it in. You want to make sure that this is flat and even, and that you can smoothly kind of press over it and there's no like creases, and it stays pretty much the same, uniform all throughout. And then you want to push it to the edge just before it touches to leave room. This is all unique to this model, but that's just what I'm doing right now. And then you just push down pretty hard. And it'll set a timer for, you can see how it's counting down there. So what's happening now is it's kind of like there's a vacuum in there that's pulling all the air out of it to create a vacuum. And then it'll kind of reintroduce, from what I'm not like, you know, an engineer with this or anything, but what it's essentially doing is it's counting down to that to pull air out and everything. It's going to create a vacuum that'll eventually pull all the air out of the package that we've created. And then this bar here will heat up and seal the edge of the plastic, making sure that there's no air inside the bag. Pretty much is the gist of it. So process takes about a minute per bag. I'll release the pressure there, and then it's gonna hiss a little bit. And then it'll flip up. And then this is the end result. So no air or anything. Does it automatically. I don't have to sit there and do it. And then that's the double seal on top. Okay, and then once that happens, pardon the mess, we're gonna be over here. And then I have kind of the pile going right here where, you know, just to make sure that it's all organized. I know that this is 90-10, right? And then that way, because if I'm doing this plus sirloin or anything, it just allows me to differentiate. And then also when it's in the freezer, as I'm pulling it out, I know which one's which. Okay, so that's the beef pretty much, and I'll do the same thing with the pork. Okay. So I have one of the 3 trays of pork still cooling down. This is what we're gonna do with the pork that has cooled down. So I'll fit 3 portions just about perfectly in there like that. And then we just kind of rinse and repeat. And we should fit these all perfectly. I think I have like 15 bags here to accommodate for all the pieces. But again, raw weight for each of these is about 8 ounces on average. And each one is going to be a portion for an individual meal. So you figure like, 3 days worth if I were to thaw it out again. So yeah, just bagging all these up, and then we'll seal them, label them, and freeze them, and we'll be good to go. That's pretty much it. All right, so this is the end result. They're all good to go, labeled, and ready for the freezer. So each one of these again is just 8 ounces raw, portioned out. And yeah, so I'll take like one of these, and then one of the 90-10, one of the sirloin, put them in a Canberra thaw 'em while the Instant Pot's cooking, and then I'll have 3 days worth of meat. So that's what one of these is right here. And the last step is to throw them in the freezer. So these two stacks here are what we just did today. This is what I did a couple weeks ago. I'm still eating off of. That same time, I believe, I did all this salmon. That's wild salmon. And then this is the sirloin that I did last batch, all the way back. This stack right here in the back, and then this one. And then this front one is just what I did this time for the 90-10. And then behind it is another stack of 90-10. So all in all, it's a fair amount. But you can imagine the convenience of, when you're thinking about meal prepping, just being like, okay, come home from work, open this up, and then I just, again, grab, one of these, one of these, one of these, boom, thaw 'em, and then we're good to go. So it makes it a lot easier because, again, if we do the math on all this, I mean, I won't have to cook again, at least meat, which is the most arduous thing, right? For at least another couple months. Which is going to make everything way easier. I'll save a lot of time, get to bed early, wake up early, all that stuff. It's way easier for stress management and convenience and all that. So definitely the way to go. If you have even a couple hours, because again, the cumulative work of all of this was maybe like, 6-7 hours. For 2 months worth of cooking, that's pretty killer. Yeah, and again, if you do it like this too, when you're buying meat in bulk and cooking in bulk and all that, it's significantly cheaper, saves time. It's just the way to do it for sure. So if you have any questions or anything, just let me know. Be happy to share anything that I can.